I've learned I need to be a little bit more nuanced when I say as long as you have a good reason, you could pick anything. So I'm gonna provide a caveat here. Um, the interviewer needs to be able to follow the rationale and not feel confused. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, so if you want to pick, like, Brian, we worked through the VR product for elderly people question that we mocked on. Um, and we actually we identified a segment that was different than one of the segments we had identified in our mock, which is totally cool. Seniors living with family at home. And we still ended up picking the health conscious, limited mobility seniors. Now, Eliza, if you could make the case that that segment is not super underserved, right? So maybe the underserved degree is low,
Mm-hmm.
and I could follow why, then you could totally make that case, right? Like I don't have a pre-prescribed notion in my head when I go into these interviews on what the right answer is. Um, and actually, one of the interviewers that I know from Meta had a really one of the people I shadowed when I was getting trained up there. I really liked the way he framed one of the questions he asked. He asked a question and then he said, um, told the candidate, "I've probably asked this question 100 to 200 times." And I've heard 100 to 200 different answers, and that's there's no right answer to this. I really just want to follow your thinking. Okay. So yeah, I would say as long as you feel like you can make a reasonable argument for why one segment over the other. I also want to provide maybe an example of like an anti-pattern that I would avoid when picking a segment or prioritizing it, which is like something like I'm just like really familiar with this segment, so I want to go with that one, right? like like some kind of like bias, like a recency bias of, like, oh, this just happened, so I'm gonna focus on this, or I know someone that's in this bucket, so I'm gonna focus on them. Like you do need to demonstrate the ability to kind of step out a layer and think holistically about the size of that audience and how underserved it is. That's actually kind of like at the core of the product sense, like skills, in a lot of ways. It's that ability to like empathize and have intuition about markets and stuff.